carving a pumpkin.
And I'm not.
And this is your
Oh wait,
Guild
now
Wars
I
2
am.
Daily. And now he is. I'm serious, that's Burden. This is your Guild Wars 2 Daily.
Hello, fellow addict gamers. Welcome to your Guild Wars 2 Daily for October 23rd. Today we are going to be talking about the Mesmer changes that came with the Halloween patch, and even going to a little discussion of how we feel they actually fit into the meta now, because they have been struggling for a while, mostly because they don't have the condition cleanse a lot of other people have, so they tend to struggle with conditions more than the other classes. Okay, so let's jump into some of the changes. One of the changes actually caught my eye was Illusionary Defense. I always pick this trait for when I do a Phantasm build, and I was actually really surprised to find out this trait wasn't even actually working properly. The Illusionary Defense, if you don't know, is you get 3% reduced damage for each active illusion you have out in the world. So if you're running a Phantasm build, you usually have 3 illusions active at all times. So that's 9% reduced damage at all times. And in the patch changes, they actually said that this trait wasn't working properly. What do you think about that, Saris? That this trait over a year now hasn't actually been working properly?
Well, without a proper combat log, you don't really notice it until it's too late. Like, until they've said that the whole year that it hasn't worked, then you're thinking, wow, I've wasted this entire year using this stupid ability. When I could have picked something else that actually worked. It's a bit sad that they don't have like a known bugged skill list up of things. But at the same time, at least it's fixed and they've got it working, so we can actually see if it is a effective trait. I hope it is. It'd be quite nice. It means I'd be able to go a tad more squishy and be a bit more comfortable in my dungeon escapades while being on my Mesmer.
Well, it didn't actually come out and say anything was wrong with the trait, right?
No.
Yeah, I think as long as they would have come out and said, "Oh, well, we realize this trait's not working the way it's supposed to be," it wouldn't be such a big deal. But they didn't say anything about it, so I was actually caught off guard that wasn't actually working properly, and I had that in my build for a pretty long time now.
They might have mentioned it like once or twice, but you know how it is. There's a lot of chatter going on, so sometimes you do miss those things. So if they did say it, they didn't say it a lot, and they didn't not anywhere permanent. You would easily find it just on your normal forum browsing without looking for it. You wouldn't see, okay, Mesmer known bug list. Does that exist?
It would actually be pretty cool, like you said, that they have a page with just known bugs for the skills and things like that. See, I actually understand how much it's affecting your build if you're taking traits that aren't even working properly. Two other changes are to the mantras, which is Power Cleanse and Power Break. Now, Power Cleanse is going to remove 2 conditions from up to 5 allies in a 240 radius, and the default mantra charges twice, so you can actually remove 4 conditions to your up to 5 people, which actually I think makes the Mesmer fit into the meta a lot better. I'm actually thinking, I know in the Guardian video I said I was gonna make a Guardian build, but I'm actually starting to think I want to make a Mesmer build now. But the other one is for Break, which is the same thing, but instead of curing conditions, it gives you and your allies stability for 2 seconds, and you get cast that twice as well.
Was it one condition before for Mantra of Resolve? The Power Cleanse? Did they up the conditions?
Yeah, but I think they upped the conditions. Yeah.
Yeah, that's good. It was a bit light
if you go,
just having one.
I mean, if you get the trait for the extra mantra charge, you can cure 6 conditions on your allies and AoEs. That's pretty awesome now. I'm actually probably going to bring that mantra into my builds now.
Yeah, I mean, it's what 2 3/4 second cast every 20 seconds, which means you can use it in combat. And if you need to set it up, you just have to make sure you stealth yourself or something, and put yourself in a position where you can't be interrupted. To use, which you should be able to do.
Okay. 2 other. Sorry, did you have something else to say?
having that access to it. I think one of the it showed before that the weaknesses of the matches where they were not really good enough to bring, like, compared to their cooldowns and cast times for what they did. Whereas you could have brought another utility which might have like a slightly longer cooldown, but instant cast has a good purpose to it, and it's strong, and like a stun breaker or turning into invisible and stuff.
So two of the other changes are illusionary counter and confusing images.
Where's the feedback on what I said?
Well, I agree. What do you want me to say?
I agree.
I think because I tried to bring the damage mantra before into a build, and I was trying to make a burst build and bring in the mantra to add even more burst. So I could almost like the elementalist, the arc lightning one, or the fresh air builds. But it's just not enough damage, so I didn't bring it. And like you were saying, it's with the other ones, you could find other utilities that work better, like a null field or the phantasm that actually clears conditions on you, rather than bringing the mantra. Mantras have always been weak. They never offered enough, even with the extra charge. So even if you traded with the extra charge, it still wasn't as good as other utilities. So yeah, I agree with what you were saying.
I suppose also on the side note, you had the fact that the traits are still, to get traits that are mantra related, most of the good ones are at the very ends of the trees, which make them, they're pretty, your build is quite limited if you actually want to incorporate those traits within it. It would then use mantras to with good traits that are making them powerful, instead of just having the base 2 charges and no heals and stuff on them and stuff like that. Which showed another weakness was just trait positioning. Yeah.
Well, they could probably add the mantras could probably still add maybe a few more like really minor traits to make mantra builds more viable. But I mean, I think even in this change, I'm gonna start bringing that mantra along with me now.
If they do some like merges of the traits with them, I think they'll be in a very good place. Like the stances are for the warrior. Just a few merges. And they're needed for quite a few of the classes. Like you see the rangers with their 1500 range UI and the piercing arrow, kind of those things should be merged. Things like that. They did a couple before one of the previous patches. Going off in a bit of a tangent here, but yeah, trait merges I think will benefit the mantras quite well. Make them a force to be reckoned with. Not just something which you ignore. I mean, you're right. You do have power cleanse at the moment, which is good. Actually useful now.
We both know when they merge the warrior traits, what happened to the warriors. Because when you merge traits, then you have room to add in another trait which you think that class needs. And they introduced some really good traits along with the merges to the warrior traits, and now the warriors are, I mean, they're in such a great place right now.
Strong, sturdy. I like them. Some people say they're overpowered, but I think they're in the right place for the meta at the moment.
You're just blinded because you play your warrior too much.
Nonsense. Play all my characters almost evenly.
No, you don't. You're always playing your OP warrior.
I played my warrior before those changes came in. Thank you very much. And even my condition build I built before they made it completely strong and really good. So.
But I think we're digressing a little bit.
We are. But it's good. Alright. So that was our chat of the one of mantra of resolve for the power cleanse. And was it onto the stability one now? Yep.
Yeah, it's the same thing with the on activation it's power break, which gives you instead of the condition removal, it gives you 2 seconds of stability each time you use it. Which you might actually see in I hate to say it, you might actually see it in like Guild vs Guilds out of World vs World. Bring like 2 or 3 Mesmers with you. And bring some power breaks for some stability when your Zergs are running through each other.
I don't think so for the power break. The main problem with it is
no?
You get stability, but it's only 2 seconds. It's very small. And
It's really just like a stun break almost.
but that's the thing, it doesn't break stun for your ally. Now, if they actually changed it to break stuns on your ally, it would become a very strong ability. Almost borderline overpowered, even, if you could do that.
Yeah.
But it would fit as a very strong support role. The duration thing of the stability would be right if they did, or otherwise they need to further increase the duration on stability itself.
Yeah, I guess you could get stability from other sources, much longer stability than the 2 seconds, even if you spam it 3 times. And well, no, I guess it has a cast time to it, doesn't it?
Yep. At the
So
moment,
yeah,
I just wouldn't use it as a buff to my allies. I only use it for my the
for
extra
yourself.
stability that my allies get is just a side effect. Whereas the cleanse one can actually be thoughtfully used. Alright, this is actually going to be very, very helpful in gaining some, what is it, cleanse for my allies against, say, a Necro who's cast Epidemic on the team and stuff. I suppose you could use the Mantra of Concentration to do stability on someone who is going to do a stomp and stuff, but then again, the conditions for it are very small, and then you've got to react pretty damn fast to do it as well. You got to be,
Yeah,
alright, this
the game
guy's going down.
speed is so fast. It'd be pretty difficult to pull that off on a consistent basis.
Yep. And normally people bring their own forms of getting those guaranteed stomps as well, so it's not something
Yeah.
you need. Whereas you could take something, it's better off you using it as your own stun break to make sure that you're not going down instead.
And you'd have to think, like the things other people bring, like Mistform or Elixir S, those have different uses other than just the stomps. You'd have to think, is bringing this mantra for the stability just for the stomps actually worth it? Which I don't think it would be.
Right.
Okay. Are we done with the mantras? That's pretty good.
Yep.
The next one is they're trying to increase the speed on the Scepter, so they actually take illusionary counter and confusing images. 2 spells on the counter or on the Scepter, and they reduce the cooldown of it. So it's illusionary counter used to be 12 seconds, but it's now 10 seconds, and confusing images used to be 15 seconds, but it is now 12 seconds. So they're trying to increase the time of the skills on the Scepter, try to make it a faster weapon, which is alright. I mean, I think Karen's running in PvP at the moment. Is running a Scepter Torch and a Staff kind of condition build, and I always kind of thought that the Scepter was a little bit slow. So it's nice to see them increasing the speed of it, making it a little more active.
I think if they just changed its auto attack a bit to, I don't know, maybe apply a very minor bleed or something, just as a, because at the moment it's a power based auto attack, and with 2 conditions as your offset abilities. It's one of those I hate how they've done that with quite a few weapons. I made them like hybrids. Yeah, not strong in either role. I mean,
They
you
call
do,
them confused weapons when they're doing
yeah,
like power and condition. It's kind of strange.
like when you have something such as the main hand sword for the Mesmer, which is pretty much all power, very strong, it's good utility, and works well. Although yeah, definitely those changes, I can see them being quite nice. I don't use the Scepter myself because of the reasons before that I just said. I think it's a confused weapon. I know a lot of people out there will disagree with me, but it's just my opinion. I've never really used the Mesmer as a 1v1 type class, so I've never really seen the need to get the Scepter as a weapon in itself, where I can just use the sword for most of my activities, and the pistol and another weapon on my offhand set.
I think that
PvP
the
and
thing is, like, when
1v1.
you're looking at op weapon sets, like you usually have the staff. When you're looking at condition builds for the Mesmer, you don't have too many choices. Whereas Scepter, main hand, and Torch offhand is pretty much your only chance of making a condition build for the Mesmer, along with the staff. So I think they're just trying to bump up the Scepter a little bit.
Well, before the patch, you actually had the option of the pistol, which brings us actually into our next point of the
Yeah,
duelist, where you could bring the pistol with for 100% projectile finishes, which means you can use the actual offhand pistol to stack confusion in itself if you had a couple of ethereal fields on the ground, which I thought was a pretty cool thing. They fixed it now, so it's only 20%. We all knew it was coming. They just took a long while to do it, and they never said anything about it for quite some time. But it's in there now. Hopefully, it means that now that they fixed it, they're actually going to look at making changes to make the weapon a bit stronger, maybe. or maybe make some alterations to the other weapons to compensate. Because it was a very useful thing to have as 100% projectile finish. It's a sad thing to see it go. But once again, it's a bug, so it's understandably needs to be fixed.
Right, so that's duelist discipline, the trait that they nerfed. So it's not 100% projectile finisher with your phantasmal duelist. It's 20%, which is which I know is something that you ran. It's not something that I ran. I actually haven't played the Mesmer in a really long time, and that's something you introduced me to, and I guess I'll never get the chance to actually try it now. But I remember you telling me about that, putting down an ethereal field. So when your phantasmal duel through it, you're stacking confusion like crazy, which, like you said, it was overpowered. I think people, yeah, you're right that people saw it coming. Um, but don't you think it's more balanced now? Even though it sucks when something powerful is taken away from a class, but it does kind of fall in line more with the balance overall, doesn't it?
Yep, this is true. It's just that it's been there for so long that you've just gotten used to it. Like it's when you don't really see many people talking about it, saying, "Oh, Phantasmal Duelists are OP. They do 100% combo finishes." It's been there for so long that it's just been part of the Mesmer in itself. So it's sad to see it go.
Right. Okay. Well, how do you feel about the changes overall to the Mesmer? Is there anything that really sticks out that you're impressed with, or something you really don't like
They
on the
were
Phantasmal Duelist?
mainly just support changes. They can do. There's still a bit more work that's needed on the Mesmer in themselves. Like I've said with the traits there for the mantras. I mean, I understand why they won't change the how the mantras are currently working at the moment, because it's just how they are. They're supposed to be long cast time items that you would use earlier on and have a few charges to use, and then you would have to, if you wanted to use it again, you would have to take some time and actually prepare them. It's like having a stock of ammunition for. So it's understandable why they won't change that, but the having quite a lot of the powerful traits for them locked in Grandmaster in separate trees that makes it really hard to combine them together to use them quite effectively in regards to having those traits.
Yeah, I think the Mesmer could benefit from some trait shuffling, like some of the other classes. Have they done any trait shuffling with the Mesmer yet? When I think about it, I don't know if they have.
I don't think so. No, they haven't.
That's something that hopefully in the future will come. I agree with you that the support, they're starting to buff up the support. That's what they said they're gonna do in this patch. And honestly, I tried mantras before and I didn't like it, but I'm really debating on a build I kind of have in mind with power cleanse, and I think that could actually be extremely strong for. I mean, it's something you can use even in DPS kind of build. You don't have to be full support for that. You have to sacrifice damage, bringing a support type weapon,
Yep.
and that alongside of that with like null field, yeah, and things like that. You can in this current meta when conditions are so prevalent, and that's like the one thing you need to worry about. I think just even power cleanse with null field would bring um, a lot of support to your team in PvP. So it's something I might actually end up testing and messing around with. But overall, I'm happy about the changes. There's nothing that sticks out to me that's bad. Like with the Phantasmal Duelist, it is disappointing, but I don't think it would be kind of hard to argue that it wasn't needed.
It's not so
But
much
overall,
disappointing, just just a bit of sadness seeing it going, because it's definitely expected, and you knew it, everyone knew it was coming. There's no way
if
you
you're
could
a
say it
person who
wasn't.
took advantage of it, I would definitely feel like it's disappointing.
Nah, just sad that it's gone. I knew it was going to be fixed. It's like having a bug thing. I don't see it as a disappointment. I see it as the reading that actually doing their job and fixing a bug finally. So
Okay.
it's just something
Well,
nice to
the
think with the patch in itself.
go ahead.
I have
Sorry.
to say this.
Right.
The patch in itself, it took quite a while to come out, and then it was mainly support focused. So sometimes you would you. I just felt like I was expecting more from it. Like to what it really was. They did say this is going to be like a mainly support your working type patch, and they actually did do that for the patch and delivered. You just sometimes when things take a long time to come in, they start to grow in your head to compared to what they actually are, which you can actually compare to a lot of the launches for games. Anyway, thought I'd leave that little tidbit for you guys. You want to finish it off, Brad?
Well, some classes definitely got it better in this patch than others. Like we did the engineer the other day, and clearly they didn't get nearly as many changes as others did. So if you're an engineer, you might be a little disappointed by that. But again, the engineer doesn't need a huge amount of changes. Just more focus on trying to get other builds um, viable. But again, that has much more to do with just how the game's functioning right now, rather than on just the individual class level. So there's going to be a lot of builds that are going to be just not viable for a long time until the mechanics of the game start changing a little bit, the meta starts shifting over to something new. But anyway, those were like the bigger changes of the Mesmer that we wanted to talk about, and just our opinions and everything. Make sure you guys are leaving your comments below with your opinion of what you think about the changes to the Mesmer, and what you think of our opinions and what we have to say. Make sure you join in on the conversation. Make sure you guys like and share this video as well. Thanks, guys.
Bye. Bye, everyone. Goodbye. Goodbye.
That's,
Goodbye.
that's